Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to another premiere draft of Final Fantasy. Without further ado, let's get into the pack one, pick one of my weakest pack ones I've seen in the set so far. These are both really restrictive, kind of constructed-oriented rares, and then the uncommons aren't that sweet, nor are the commons. I'll just go for one of the solid mono-colored uncommons, as they're some of the more flexible cards you could fit into multiple strategies, but Thief's Knife and Chocobo Racetrack, for that matter, are both kind of slow, a little difficult to get their triggers going in. So not like a pack one, pick one worthy card, but they can be solid role fillers in the right deck. I think that's the best really had out of the pack one. So we start with a Thief's Knife here, moving on to pick number 2. Now we've got Tella Great Sage as the rare. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 hero token, period. If it's a 4 mana or more spell, you also draw 2 cards. That seems quite powerful. Pretty expensive at 5 mana, but quite a strong build around for a blue-red deck. Alternatively, I'm really not tied to blue absolutely at all, so we could just take a very flexible, powerful card here, which is Delivery Moogle. This is going to be great in any white deck. All you need is a couple artifacts with mana value 2 or less. There's a lot of those in the set, because there's all these job select equipment and such. I'm actually really high on Delivery Moogle, and being mono-colored means it's really flexible, so I'm actually going to take that over Tella here. For pick 3, looks like we may still get to play blue with our Thief's Knife here, because the strongest card is easily Jill, Shiva's Dominant. I like all of these Final Fantasy 16 rares, all of the creatures that transforms themselves into summons and then transform back into their regular half again. They're just a ridiculous amount of value if they're not dealt with, and they all have a good enter effect as well. So you're getting some kind of impact on the board immediately, or some kind of impact on the game immediately, so that even if your opponent does have the removal to stop them from doing 5,000 things off of just one card, you're still up in value. Your opponent had to discard their removal spell, and you still got a bounce spell out of Jill. So very, very big fan of Jill here, and gonna slam that right into the deck here. Pick number 4. I do like the crystals chosen at the top end of the curve. The big issue with this card is it is 7 mana, so it is hard to consistently cast, and sometimes you will be losing games with that stuck in your hand. But if you get to the point where you're casting it and you have any other creatures on board when you do, it's a really excellent way to stabilize and then potentially just kill your opponent with a really wide board state. So pretty high on that card. I'm also pretty high on Samurai's Katana. 3 mana, 3/3 Trample Haste is a really strong baseline for this card, and if you ever re-equip it and get that extra value off of it, it's doing a whole ton. We're really not tied to white yet, so we can still just take the strongest card in the pack. It kind of ignore colors there. I'm going to take the Samurai's Katana there. Another reasonable option there was Tidus, trying to just immediately lock in on blue-white, but again, dual-colored card there will completely lock us into a specific color pair. It is the most restrictive pick there, and I don't think that the buff in power level or the bump in power level over the Katana or the other card in that pack, I always forget the name, the 7 mana hero thingy, was worth going for the dual color card there. Pick 5, really easy Sleep Magic, just really efficient removal for our main color here in blue. Blue, again, our most likely color. We have our strongest card there with Jill, and we have more cards having 2 blue spells, so we'll grab a third with Sleep Magic. Pick number 6, very reasonable white spell, Zac Fair. I do think Zac is a little better than the Sage's Newlist, for sure. Is it enough better to take over just another blue spell here? Probably, but I do also like the synergy that the Newlist has with Delivery Moogle. If we go blue-white, then that'll be some added value that it can be tutored up by being a 2-mana artifact. It's really close. I mean, Zac does have a really, really solid ability, being able to protect your best threat later in the game. As long as you're holding just 1 mana up, you can make sure they're not killing your Jill, so you can actually get that flip more likely. Zac is, I think, enough better to actually take over the Newlist there. Pick 7. Filler 4-drop or a filler 2-drop. There's just a lot more room for filler 2-mana creatures than 4-mana creatures, because you're not going to get to those higher mana costs as often, so I always tend to prioritize the lower mana cards here. There's a slight argument leaning towards blue here, just because, again, blue is a more likely color than white, but I still really prefer 2s to 4s, and Rook Turd is super filler. Pick 8, there we go. White Mage's Staff is excellent here, another card we can tutor off of Delivery Moogle, and it's a great I guess it's our first card we can tutor off Delivery Moogle, and it's a great job select equipment, one of my favorite ones because it's a 2-mana 2/2 on curve that then you can re-equip later. Like, I'm a fan of the colorless one, the 2-mana 2/1 that only gives +1/+0 and no other abilities, so you know I love the 2-mana 2/2 that also gains life and gives a more considerable buff later. Pick 9, we wield Paladin's Arms. This was honestly such a weak pack that this was one of the strongest cards in it. A 3-mana 3/2 with Ward 1, and then a pretty reasonable equipment to move around later. +2/+1 turns even a 1/1 into a 3/2 and makes any creature you play for the rest of the game. If you have the mana to equip it, reasonable threat, reasonable card for trading up. We'll take the Paladin's Arms. We wield a Sage's Newliths, so that'll be a nice addition here, and makes me pretty happy I skipped out on the first copy. I'm very low on interaction. I have 1 Sleep Magic and a Jill to bounce 1 card, so I will take a Slash of Light over a Monk's Fist. As much as I do actually like this card, I think this is very solid filler. Played it in a lot of decks. The colorless casting cost makes it a really low barrier of entry. Pick 12. I'm really not going to be excited about playing a bunch of Corals or Newliths, so I'm actually going to speculate on the fixing here with the Royal City. And we get some on-color cards for the rest of that pack, which is very nice. Speaking of very nice, opening up pretty balmy rare here is great. The Machinist's Arsenal is a 5-mana, I guess, 3/3 by itself. But if you just have a single other artifact on the board, so 1 other equipment sitting around, we've already got 4 in this deck, then it's a 5-mana 5/5 that you can re-equip later for +4/+4. Super, super strong. If you have 3 total artifacts, that's when it starts getting ridiculous. A 5-mana 7/7 that then can re-equip for +6/+6 onto other cards. Pretty absurd. Now we are on pack 2, pick 2, which is a great pack here. There are 2 excellent blue commons to choose from as the main cards. The Dragoon's Wyvern is excellent stats for the cost, a 2/1 flyer and a 1/1 on the ground, and flyers have played really nicely in this set. There's also a good efficient removal spell with Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. You get to tap something, keep it tapped, and shut off its activated abilities. Now this doesn't shut off triggered abilities, which is relevant. Sometimes that does matter. But I think the biggest reason I'm going to take Wyvern over it isn't that it's a bad card. This is very good removal. It's just that Wyvern is really, really nice, and I think if we stack up with multiple flyers, that can become a really solid strategy. Just blue-white flyers, traditional draft stuff here, and we also get to maybe slap some equipment onto them. The flyers are really nice with the Thief's Knife as well. I think this is a really good-looking deck for Dragoon's Wyvern. Pick 3. Nothing good on color, sadly. Ether is like a really cute card. All of these like copy another instant or sorcery that you have, but these cards are always really, really high variance, and on average, the best thing you're going to be doing with them is just duplicating a removal spell. So 9 times out of 10, it's just better to run another copy of that removal spell, try to draft another removal spell, because this is kind of like a second copy removal spell, but if you don't have that other removal spell in your hand, if you don't have that other instant or sorcery in your hand, it sits there and does literally nothing. So I'm not very high on Ether or cards like it in any draft format. Pick 4, I am very high on Dragoon's Wyvern. Magitech Armor, also good, but I will take the Dragoon. Pick 5, Weapons Vendor is a great way to get our equipments attached to our flyers for a lot cheaper than their usual 3 and 4 mana equip costs, so Weapons Vendor looks nice in this strategy. Pick 6, I would not hate a Tidus in this deck, but honestly the cat might be better, the Gala Cat here. All you need is 2 artifacts on board. If you have them, 3 mana 3/3 Flying Vigilance is an incredible stat line. It plays offense and defense at the same time, which is really nice. That's one of the biggest weaknesses of Tidus, is that he kind of only plays the offensive. He's very low toughness, even after you get 1 or 2 artifacts out after playing him. And he has an ability that only triggers on attacks, so Tidus is like very well positioned to be attacking in multiple times, not well positioned to block basically ever. Pick 7, We'll take a Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. I do like Travel the Overworld. I think this is excellent in splashy decks with a bunch of towns. But when we're likely to be a deck with maybe 1, maybe 2 towns, 7 mana draw 4 at the top end of a pretty aggressive blue-white deck just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a little too high of a mana cost to reasonably cast consistently. Another one of these flying cats, just all in on blue-white flyers, does seem fun, but I have a whole lot of 3-mana creatures and still not a lot of non-creature spells, not a lot of interaction, so I don't mind using a counter spell as a form of pseudo-removal. Another weapons vendor looks awesome, again, for reducing these very expensive equip costs we have in our deck. 11, there's another Aerith Rescue mission, probably one of the first cuts if we get any more 4-mana cards. But we're at 23 cards right now, so the entire third pack gets to be spent just improving this deck. We could use some more good 2-mana creatures, lower our mana curve in general, get a little more aggressive, and then outside of that, a little more removal. So the only thing we really need are probably 2 good 2-mana creatures, 1 more good removal spell, or 2 more good removal spells. And past that, we can just cut the most filler cards for slightly better cards. I think we are very well positioned moving into pack number 3. And there we go, there's 1 of the 2-mana creatures I need. Just need 1 more now. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. I don't mind another new list, but honestly Zach's ability is strong enough. As I did in pack 1, I think I'm going to take a second Zach over the second new lists. And usually there is quite a downside to taking a second legend, because if you draw them both at the same time, they're going to be pretty mediocre. But with Zach, because he's got a good sacrifice ability, it's pretty reasonable to assume we can sack him in some kind of combat scenario to get the other Zach out without really losing any tempo to the legend rule. Oof. Beautiful equipment. One of the best job select cards, Dragoon's Lance, 2-mana, 2/1 flyer. It is only flying on the offensive, which is quite a big downside, but still, a 2-mana, 2/1 flyer to get aggressive with is already decent, and the equip on this is just excellent later, turning any of your biggest creatures into a flyer, flying a Machinist's Arsenal over for the lethal in the endgame. Lance has been a massive overperformer. I already thought it looked good, but with how it's played so far, I think it's one of the best uncommons in the whole set. Pack 3, pick 3. Our artifact count's at 7 right now. Not the greatest for the aerial unit. It may be better to take the Graha Tia here. So anytime we're trading creatures off, we're also drawing a card. I do like this card. I've played it in multiple other decks. Quite decent stuff there. Alternatively, just a Crossroads Village to help with our double white cards or double blue cards. Our mana costs do not look very restrictive at all, though. Our only double white cards are Moogles, and we have no double blues right now. This could be wrong, but I'm going to go all in on flyers with this one, and we'll grab the huge top-end flyer. Pick 4. I like Magitech Infantry a lot, but I've been passing Magitech Infantries in this draft for other cards. Because we saw some, they were all early. I think we took removal or other good creatures over them. Which means that there are going to be drafters right around us looking for these infantries, so I think it's highly unlikely taking our first infantry pack 3 pick 4 to be able to get another copy. So I could try the cargo ship here, just because there's nothing else. It's either an infantry or a cargo ship. Cargo ship I can definitely put in the deck and try out, but I don't know how good it's going to be. And then Magitech Infantry is I can only put it in the deck if I get past another copy. So I think it's better to just take cargo ship here. Adelbert is awesome in these equipment decks, but I did say I do need to pick up 1 or 2 more removal spells, and I haven't actually done that here. We're on 3 removal spells and a Syncopate. I should absolutely grab this Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. Pick number 6. Another weapons vendor. Another Rook turret, I guess. I mean, it is a flyer. Yeah, I guess I don't mind that much. I'll actually play a Rook turret in here over these rescue missions. Blue-white duel seems fine. Another weapons vendor, a Monk's Fist. A lot of good options. I actually really don't mind taking a Monk's Fist, cutting all of the cats here, and just running exclusively 2-mana artifacts, really getting the affinity going for our aerial unit. Yeah. I like Monk's Fist probably too much. Pick 8. Bunch of meaningless nonsense. There have been so many copies of this open in this draft pod. From father to son. This is like the 3rd copy I've seen, I think. This was our pack 1 pick 1 rare as well. Yeah, this card is just so bad in draft. I guess I can just rare draft. I'm not playing a Blitzball or a rescue mission. I already cut a bunch of rescue missions. Prima Vista 5 mana, so much. Yeah, not interested in that. We'll put it in the side. Probably not playing any of the first moves at this point. Just lowering the mana curve. Alright, just need to cut a couple more cards, and we've got a very reasonable blue-white Flyers deck going here. There's an artifact sub-theme and an equipment sub-theme. The artifact sub-theme to make our top-end Flyers cheap as possible, the aerial units, and the equipment sub-theme to attach some equipment to our Flyers and get a bunch of extra damage in. But they're also really good with this great Arsenal rare. So, deck looks quite reasonable here. We're a pretty quick deck. I don't think we want the Merchant that much. I like this cat a lot, but again, I have so much going on at 3 mana. That seems like the easiest spot to cut cards on this mana curve. Although, I mean, I could still cut the Rook turret just because I'm not a fan. I don't think we're cutting any non-creature cards here. So these are potential cuts. How reasonable is it to cut a land here? I don't think it's insane, but it's not the most reasonable in the world. Because I have no ramp and no really cheap card draw to keep hitting land draws. I guess just because I need to cut a card, I could cut a Zach for legend rule purposes. Again, he's one of the better legends for running multiples because he has a good sack ability, but I gotta cut something here, and I'm not cutting a land. Maybe a Paladin's Arms is the weakest of the equipment. Like how the knife plays with the Flyers. It's pretty expensive to equip, but I've got double vendor for that too, potentially. I like this cat a lot. I really want to actually play the cat one time. I feel like I always end up cutting the cat. And I do not want to here. I want to actually run it and get some experience with the card. I've only really played against it, but it's been consistently great against me. Yeah, 3 mana, 3/3 Flying Vigilance is just nuts. It's not hard to get there. I mean, looking at this deck, 10 artifacts. I only need 2 of them on the board. Yeah, we'll just Legend Rule, cut a Zach. And double check our colors. 12 blue cards, 10 white. So slightly more blue than white makes sense. However, there is also the factor to take into account of when you're casting the cards of those colors. And on turn 1, the only card I'm casting turn 1 is a white spell, so I need a Plains in the opening hand to cast this or these 2 2-drops. But there's also 2 blue 2-drops, 3 blue 2-drops that matter. I probably am still supposed to go for a 9/8 split, but it is important to take a peek at where your colors are in your mana curve, because sometimes you might have more blue spells than white spells like this deck does, but it might be in a way where like all of my 2 mana creatures and 1 mana creatures were white, and then I don't have blue cards till like 3/4 plus. That's not the case here though. I have 3 important 2 mana blue spells, so I'll just keep it at the 9/8. And we will call it a deck here. Very nice looking one. We'll hop into the gameplay and see how it does. All right, here we are on the draw for game number 1. Opponent starts with a blue-red dual land. Got a very reasonable hand here. We got a bunch of 2 mana options. We probably start with the Mana Rock so I can cast both of our other 2-drops. The turn after this, if I hit any land. So opponent's got Syncopate here, or the 2 mana instant card draw, something like that. Probably Dreams of Laguna, if it's still holding. Yep, Surveil 1, draw a card. Come on, top deck land. Any land in the whole deck works. Mysidian Elder. We top deck garbage. Okay, Sleep Magic's actually a pretty decent card, but didn't hit a land here, which is bad. So 0 for 3 on coin flips so far this game on land draws, since we are on the draw. Ooh, and then one of the best rares in the whole set. And it's all triggered abilities, which means our removal doesn't work against it. And they literally immediately have all the wizards. And once again, all triggered abilities. So if I cast any removal spell on it, I am stopping the 4/6 body, which is important, but all of these wizards are doing 2 to me. This is a 2/4. Or sorry, a 2/3. Doesn't actually add any toughness. Wow, this is a horrible spot. This is colorless, so because I drew another white source, I can't double spell. I can't like Sleep Magic and hold up a Syncopate, which would be our best hope right now. Kind of think I still need to just stop the essentially 8/6. Which I suppose is better to do with the 3 mana removal, save the 1 mana removal spell for later. And they're a blue deck, so I kind of have to do it right now. It's not great right now. Taking 4 damage per spell they cast. There's no world in which I'm outracing them right now. Better to stop 2 damage to myself and deal 2 to them. I guess. Now they're dealing 6 to me per spell. Oh my god, and the +1/+0 is incredibly relevant here because these are 2/1s now, and the Elder's a 4/3. Alright. We get Kuja'd pretty hard. Our color just has horrible removal for dealing with that. Yep. And our mana draws were pretty rough there too, against probably the Magical Christmas land hand from our opponent. Turn 3 Elder, turn 4 Kuja to get the instant flip. It is what it is. 0-1 heading to game 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 2. Start things off with a Monk's Fist on 2 mana. And we've got the Wyvern on 3. Or I could start with the Thief's Knife. I don't think I should, though. Ooh. I'm going to start with the Cat here and go maximum damage. I'm not really worried about getting the little hero chump blocker when we're on the play here, unless they play some insane threat here. They are green-red, so most of their insane threats come a lot higher on the mana curve. Yep, it'll be the Cat here. Got them down to 18, and here's the Gala Cat. They play a blue source. I don't love that. That means they could have a counterspell and a lot of different random interaction. With the way our cat's abilities work here, though, we don't really have a choice but to pre-combat play our artifact to get the buff. They could just be cracking the world map for 3. Yeah, alright, find whatever land they need, including non-basics. They do find a great one. It's green and blue mana, and then if they survive to the late game, it becomes an incredible win condition. A 5/4 flyer that draws a card every time it attacks, so that'll kill you in just 4 swings and give you the cards you need to defend yourself while it's doing that. There's a Vanille, great card, great value. Mill 2, pick up a permanence. They are down to 13 already, though. So I'm hoping we get the outrace here. We just need them to not have some kind of board wipey ability, I think. Hitting for 1 less damage this way, in theory, to guarantee that I draw the card. And it looks like it was worth it. 1 less point of damage to them to draw the card, because if I didn't do that, because they were okay with trading with a 2/1 with no abilities, they definitely would have traded with the 2/2 that would have let me draw a card. Okay. Still looking to draw cards here, so I like these stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. However, it's not necessary to cast, so I could save it in case they play a better threat. But I could alternatively just Syncopate if they play a better threat. Yeah, I don't really need to draw cards here to close out this game, actually, realistically. So let's not. Let's just interact with everything they play here. Expand our board with the Wyvern to make sure that we still have close to lethal on another swing. And then whichever one of these 2 pieces of interaction looks best, we will cast. Ice Flan. So we syncopate that and we've got lethal. And that's game. 1-1 now, heading into game 3. Alright, game 3, we're 1-1 here. Perfectly average run so far. We keep up this record. I guess if we keep up this record, technically I lost the first game, so that would mean that I would lose 3 before I get to play the 6th game that I would win, so we don't get to go 3-3 if I keep up this record. I gotta get another win. I gotta reverse the order of the wins and losses here if I want to get a 50-50, which I do want to get. We have yet to get lower than a 50-50 in this set since it's come out. Probably did one time in the early access. But our absolute lowest run has been 3-3 since the set came out. There's Scorpion Sentinel. Makes me very happy about my choice of how to curve things out here. Went for the cargo ship over the Nulets because the Wyvern comes with a perfect little 1/1 to crew up the ship. So I can poke in the sky instead of on the ground, which is very relevant against a 4 toughness card. Plus, of course, the ship gives me that mana ramp. That could be relevant later. Mono blue from our opponents so far. They miss a land drop. That feels very good for me. Unfortunately, our cargo ship here cannot pay for a Syncopate. So if they have Syncopate on Moogle, they get it. They do not have Syncopate on the Moogle. That is really excellent for me. We'll just pick up another flyer with the Dragoon's Lance. All flying all day. 4 damage to them, get them down to 14. Pretty nice to be potentially just winning some games with bread and butter draft strategies. If you are new to Magic, you started with Final Fantasy, this kind of blue-white flying deck has been a classic of Magic the Gathering drafts since they've existed, basically. Just getting a bunch of evasive threats so all your opponent's big creatures can't even block them. It's played pretty well. Now, another classic draft strategy is to hope your opponent doesn't draw any lands. That's another good way to win, and we employed that strategy greatly there. We are 2-1, heading into Game 4. Game 4. We're 2-1 right now. We have drawn one of the strongest cards in our deck with that Arsenal at 5 mana. 5 mana is quite a lot here. But realistically speaking, I've got 4 lands in the hand already. It's highly unlikely the game ends before I make it to 5 mana, but we'll see. They're a red deck, you never know. Some of those decks go pretty crazy pretty fast. Nothing so far from our opponent. They are blue-red. It is their turn 3 now. We've started with our Newliths here. Ooh, okay, so they're green splashy stuff. They forced cycle a T-Rexar, which means no plays by turn 3. You love to see it. That means we get the curve out here, even though we are on the draw. We still get to play the aggressor because our opponent had a pretty slow opening hand. The Weapons Vendor Arsenal combo coming out of nowhere could get me a quick kill if I wait to play the Arsenal till I have like 6 mana. So I don't mind going for like Staff Slash of Light here to keep the damage coming in. That leads into turn 5 Weapons Vendor, plus I can move an equipment for my remaining 1 mana. And then turn 6, if I hit another land, I can get my Arsenal equip onto somebody that's currently attacking for just insta-lethal out of nowhere. So that's the curve out I'm going for here by playing like this and just getting a blocker out of the way, pushing damage immediately. We're going to try to cheese them out of the game before they get to like a really strong 6-7 mana rare mythic here, hopefully. Which is the kind of stuff you should be expecting if your opponent's playing a ton of colors. The big reasons to do that is to splash in really, really powerful cards. And we have guaranteed that we are hitting 6 mana now. So we will be able to Arsenal plus equip next turn for +6/+6. Drawn to a Zac is a little bit awkward. Because now I don't want a Weapons Vendor, I think. Yeah, is it better to play Zac, though? Because I'm not going to have the mana to sack Zac next turn anyway. You know what? It's probably still not better to play Zac instead of re-equip. Well, hold on. They're not going to want to trade Torgal off. They have no mana to buff Shantoto. So if I attack with the 2/2 power creatures, they block 1 and take 2. I actually deal more damage by not moving an equipment to the Wyvern, so I guess we do play Zac this turn. Unless they're okay with trading Torgal off, then we get more damage in this way. Well, they are going to trade Torgal off. That's surprising. Sure. 1 less point of damage by playing it this way, then. We're not going to lethal them the turn we play the Arsenal, but we are going to get a massive buff instantly, which is still very good. Mountain Chocobo. Okay, still no scary spells from our opponent. They're really not in a position to be attacking, so we're not really worried about the huge buff Shantoto just got. Ooh, Jill? Jill's an interesting one. The board is weak enough on our opponent's side here. I can just Arsenal and get the equip instead. So that is what I'm going to do. Probably have to hold on to Weapons Vendor. But I will allow them to trade the Chocobo into the 2/1 if they want. Alright, I guess we're just bouncing. Fair enough. I should have read this before I attack. Okay, I shouldn't have made that attack, because if they just had like the 2 mana Surveil 1 draw card, they could have killed this without even losing a creature. So I should have only attacked with the flyer. Doesn't look like it's going to matter. They're at 3 life and they're still spending more mana just to draw cards, which seems probably desperate. There's not a lot that they could save themselves with for 3 mana or less, and they did not find it. We have officially locked in another solid draft. We are 3-1 for a 50-50 run at the absolute worst here. Really nice opening hand here. White Mage's Staff into Dragoon's Wyvern is just strong stuff at common, but also having the Jill, that's what makes this hand a cut above the rest. Normally Staff into Wyvern would already be like, yeah, that's a great draw on the play, I'm happy with this. But yeah, the Jill as well, incredibly happy. I don't mind instantly going for Jill here, but I think I wait and see if they play a 3 mana card. We bounce something more expensive. I don't need Jill on the board. until turn 5 is when the Summoning Sickness is like really needs to be gone. That worked out really well because now I just get to kill their token, which is always brutal. No weapons vendor here. I am playing off curve, but this is worth it. Their Pixie's just not a good blocker. Next turn, they could go land, equip the Pixie, attack, but they are taking so much damage if that's their line that we're really not concerned about the Thief's Knife. Okay, sure, double strike the Pixie. That's pretty cute. They get to keep the triggered ability of Cypher here, even if I stuck in Summoner Sanctum, which is a little concerning, but currently that's only double strike to a 2-1, so I'm not that worried. I mean, again, they could go Thief's Knife equip. And then draw 2, but if they go Thief's Knife equip, they have 1 mana up and they just die on the crackback. So Shiva, which we can get off of Jill, just makes one of our creatures unblockable. So not really worth the flip there that turn. Over just dealing with Cypher. There's Ultimecia. Ultimecia, once you get to 8 mana, huge bomb. And very solid until then. Surveilling on the enter or attacks. Great way to set up your draws. Speaking of setting up your draws, Syncopate is a good one. Okay. Weapons vendor, and I can hold up a Syncopate for 1. That's the big question here, is how relevant a Syncopate for 1 is going to be. Because I could instead get an unblockable 2 damage in on the ground. And then make Shiva herself unblockable for lethal. But if they just surveilled here and kept 1 on top, that means they probably have the removal for Shiva if I do that. Yeah, I think I'm going to go just on the go wide strat here. Clear that out. If they just play a bunch of blockers here, we flip Jill. If they play removal here, we can go wide around the Ultimecia. Ultros is really good if they cast a 4-mana removal spell. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum, also really good. Unfortunately, I don't have the mana to flip Jill and use that, but they've only got 1 blocker big enough to block profitably here, so I think we are just locked in on not flipping Jill then? Oh, that's great. I forgot about that interaction. I can just make Jill a 3-3, and then this is definitely the play. Because now they can't kill Jill with Ultros. And I still have the option to flip her later if that ends up being necessary. Yeah, they're down to 1. We still get a Syncopate up. Beautiful stuff from the deck that I wasn't even accounting for in that line. Weapons vendor, pretty big overperformer so far. I mean, I've played in a lot of decks like this. It's always decent. But it's been great in a couple of these games. And there's the Syncopate for their Shiva. And that wins us the game. That's 4-1, guaranteed a positive record out of this draft, and it's bumped us up into the diamond tier. Pretty sweet one. Pretty sweet one for sure. This is our slowest hand we've drawn so far. It has our strongest card with the Arsenal. The Delivery Moogle is really strong as well, and the Weapons Vendor plays well with the Arsenal, but if I don't draw a bunch of cheap artifacts, the Arsenal is not actually that big, and without any cheap plays, I could take a lot of damage here before I cast anything. This actually feels very risky for a 2-color hand, on the draw in particular. I'm going to mulligan this one. It is a disappointing mulligan for sure, but I think it's safer to do that. This hand is even more risky, because if we don't draw blue source, we don't do anything. But a mulligan down to 5 is incredibly painful. And we know we have an early play that's actually relevant, at least. Rough hands on this one. We'll see how far this can take us. We've got draw steps immediately because we're on the draw to try to hit the blue source. And Plains number 3 is definitely not the blue source. Turn 2 Garland from our opponent means we would have been in a world of pain if we kept our 7. No play till turn 4, getting beaten down by a 3 power creature. Starting turn 2 from our opponent on the play. Thanks to the Slash of Light draw, even if I don't hit the blue source immediately, I can at least slow them down dealing with Garland for now. We did find the blue source right on time. Stand has gone really well. I think it's still better to expand our board state for now, especially with Slash of Light in hand, really wanting as wide of a board as possible. There's overkill on the Wyvern, which is fine. We still keep the 1/1 hero. And we're now in a position to race decently. They hit for 3, we hit for 3, they hit for 3, we hit for 3. They're on the play, though, so they win that race because they got the first hit in. But I have multiple pieces of removal I can play later. And with a Cecil on the board, we actually win the race again. Because I can deal with him when he flips and let him deal damage to them until then. Okay, so he's a 2/3 Death Touch. They take damage every time he deals damage, but if they get to 10 or less life, he turns into a giant lifelinker. Card is pretty ridiculous. I can only cast 1 spell here. I don't have my second blue for the aerial unit later. When we poke them in the sky here, but the question is between Thief's Knife or removal. I take 5 if I don't removal. And I go 9. I feel like 9's a reasonable life total with 2 different removal spells in hand for their 2 different creatures on board. Their final days just make 1 2/2 for 6 mana as their flashback cards, so we don't really have to keep those in mind too heavily here. I could trade my Thief for a Garland here, but I really would like to draw the card, so I'm just going to save the removal to do that instead. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum, definitely the better card to put on Garland, because if we put Garland in their grave, he's going to come back as a big demon later in the game. No blocks. They don't attack with Cecil, they're holding up some defenses of their own here. Hectize is annoying, but we discard the double blue card. We don't know when we're going to hit another island. There's a Wyvern. No land draw is not ideal. Because I can't guarantee a Thief's Knife draw now. They can just chump the Thief's Knife creature, but chumping with a Hectize is not that bad for me. It's not like a trade or anything. Removal of their own against the Thief's Knife creature? Sure. Okay, I guess they also sacked it to be cute. Just in case I have like a combat trick, I suppose. Fair. I think I'm under enough life total pressure to just hold the 1/1 against their 1/1. Guess we got a sack outlet out of their hand before I put Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum on Garland. That's somewhat valuable. Oh, Sir Conrad's such a groan test. My one biggest pet peeve with this set so far has been losing to the bonus sheet stuff. There's some utter nonsense on there, like Sir Conrad. Yeah, I mean, he kills the heck out of me. It's a triggered ability too, so even if I stick him in the Summoner's Sanctum, we're getting pinged for 1,000,000. They probably kept them at uncommon too. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I'm trying to go through the lines in my head. Yeah, there really is just nothing we can do about that. We're on just full defensive now. I stuck in Summoner's Sanctum Sir Conrad and trade into Garland and go to 4. because his triggered ability is still just popping off here. And then they can still reanimate Garland later. If they have a land, they can go ahead and get a couple 2/2s this turn. So I've had to kill some creatures. The Golbez self-mill, the Sir Conrad self-mill has actually worked out really well as well. They milled a couple creatures. Yes, just make 5 2/2s. Alright, get Conraded, nerd. 4-2, heading into game 7. Here we are for game 7 on the play. I need to draw exactly one land. If I hit that land, this hand is phenomenal. That is not the land, but I've got another draw step towards it. We got the 2 coin flips in a row. Can I win one of them? Again, slightly weighted against us. We're at like 45% lands in the deck. Let's go. So play the cat and follow up with the equipment next turn. It's the mirror match, but we're on the play, which does give us a slight natural advantage here. I think our opening hand's pretty good to take advantage of that. To where it's really early to tell. They could play a single really strong card and all of a sudden they're very advantaged, but I do feel currently like I am the advantaged player. That was a really good draw. Because now I can get the cat up to 3/3 stat and stop them from drawing their cards at the same time, which is wonderful. There's their own cat, also a 3/3. Got the removal for it, but I don't get to play anything else the turn that I cast that. This is 3 to equip. Better to keep making the board wider. Yeah, I kind of like getting more flyers and then killing here. Because if I draw another land next turn, then I get to double spell with both of these, and it's a really excellent turn after this. Set up for the double spell, hopefully. I don't think it's crazy to take the trade either, though, come to think of it, but I'm not going to go for that. Well, that's annoying. But that would have been just as annoying had I killed their cat. No, you're supposed to be the mana. I want a double spell. Now when I hit 5 mana, I'm just playing Arsenal anyway. Guess we do what we gotta do. Oh! Come on now. 9/9. The Arsenal v Arsenal life, but theirs is bigger. It's 4 to equip. They are still dead to our flyer if they don't have another removal spell alongside that Aura Sight. And attacking would be very brave of them. We've got 10 more life than them. 18 to 8. No removal, no removal. Okay, weapons vendor with the Arsenal is the sickness. We've done that ourselves. It's been fantastic. So they can Dragoon's Lance for 1 now onto the Arsenal's creature and go for a 2-turn kill if they have instant speed removal. That'll get me. There's not much I can do. Alright. Oh. Not going for the 2-turn kill. No swing. So probably... Ah, man. I don't think I think I have to make them have it. I mean, if they just have the 2 mana return a creature to its owner's hand, it is really bad to just equip Wyvern. But if they don't have it, that's our best play by so far. I've got plenty of chumpers if they have it here. Let's see. Okay. They had the Slash of Light. That is insane here. Vigilance on the 12/11 flyer. Well, I think we lose this one no matter how we play it then. Yeah, they just had a better draw here. They're like the mirror match of all mirror matches. Yeah, like I could have cast Delivery Moogle here and then still just died to all this. Disappointing ending, but 4-3 it will be. Get 2 of our losses in a row there. Just can't outclass that. I don't think there's much we could have done there in the gameplay. Obviously, like, playing into the removal did end up playing worse for us, but we die either way. We lose that game either way with that set of draws from our opponent. So I think it was reasonable to try to just go for it, so that they had less time to draw into some kind of out, like an Ultima, or some kind of board wipe, if they didn't have the removal. Because again, if they did, we were kind of in a horrible position regardless. Yeah, bummer of an ending, but still a solid record here. We got 4-3 off of this deck. Very reasonable deck, very reasonable record. Yeah, not too much to say. No huge overperformers or underperformers. Aerial unit was an underperformer. We only drew it one time, didn't have the double blue for it. The color restrictive mana costs are definitely a downside. So there was that. Weapons Vendor was a bit of an overperformer here. Re-equipping Arsenals for just 1 was awesome. Re-equipping Thief Snipes for 1 was great. But I like the blue-white flyers and equipment strategy just in general. Our opponent was playing basically the exact same deck there. And their deck was also really nice. It was basically, yeah, again, the exact same cards. They just drew more of their removal in their opening hand and more artifacts than us for the arsenal to make their board even bigger. 4-3 it is today. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, and check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.